Hello, welcome to the video series on Advanced Database Management System. This is Kiran Shinde, Assistant Professor IICMR MCA Pune. In this first video lecture, we are going to discuss on the purpose of DBMS, that is Database Management System, and what is the system architecture of a traditional database management system. So let's start. So as I mentioned, we are going to discuss two major topics in this particular video. The database and need for the database, or DBMS characteristics with respect to, and the 3-tier or the basic system architecture of DBMS. So let's start. First of all, let us try to understand what is database management system. So basically, DBMS can be termed as collection of interrelated data or the set of programs which are used to access the data in your database. DBMS also contains information about a particular enterprise. It can be a database with respect to an educational institution, it can be the database of a banking enterprise, or it can be an IT industry database. DBMS also provides an environment which is both convenient and efficient to use. So typically these are some basic points when we are asked that what is database or what is database management system. Let's proceed further. Now, as I mentioned, the main topic in this particular video lecture is to understand need of DBMS or need of database system. So first of all, let us have a look at some drawbacks of traditional file systems. The first and very important drawback is data redundancy and inconsistency. Now, with respect to data redundancy and inconsistency, what different problems may arise, those are listed in this particular slide. For example, the data inconsistency, which talks about various copies of the same data which may no longer agree. For example, if you change the data at one place in your database, but that change is not getting reflected in another place, then the data inconsistency problem may arise. Data duplication, same information can be redundantly stored at various places. So that is also one drawback in the traditional file system, and multiple file format. Since the files and applications programs are created by different programmers and by making use of maybe different technologies over a long period, the various files are likely to have different formats, and the programs may be written in different programming languages. That's what I mentioned. So typically in traditional file system, these are the three drawbacks which you can come across under data redundancy and data inconsistency. Now, there can be a problem related to integrity, that is accuracy of the data. As I said, like in the very first drawback, we mentioned that due to the inconsistency of that particular data in that system, it will end up in the data integrity problem. So the data value stored in the database must satisfy certain types of constraint, and those constraints are called as consistency constraint. So as we will go further and discuss more on the various aspects of DBMS, we will cover this particular topic. The next problem which we can see is nothing but difficulty in accessing the data. The file processing environments do not allow needed data to be retrieved in a convenient and efficient manner. So we need to write a new program to carry out each new task. So that was the typical scenario with your file system. Whenever you wanted to extract specific data, then there was no tool which was available with traditional file systems, and hence the programmers had to code certain programs, and then they have to carry out those tasks. Data isolation, as data are scattered in various files and files may be in different formats, it was difficult to write new application programs every time for the appropriate file, for fetching the appropriate data, right? So these are some drawbacks. Some more drawbacks to you. Atomicity problem. A computer system, like any other mechanical or electrical device, is subject to failure. And when there is a failure, then that particular failure should not take that particular system into an inconsistent state. So for example, power failure during transfer from account A to B. So what problem can arise when that particular transfer of amount was happening from one account to another account, and if the failure happens in between, then that particular transaction should be rolled back, or that particular transaction should be again reached back to its original state. right? So that is called as a problem, which if it is not maintained or if it is not assured, then this atomicity problem can arise. Security problems, not every user of database should be able to access all the data. It means every user, as per his role and responsibility, the access right should be assigned it. Concurrent access anomalies, it means if the data in that particular table or maybe the part of that particular database is made available to multiple users to be accessed concurrently, then again there can be some kind of inconsistency may arise in your database. So concurrent access also should be made assure, or I can say there should be some kind of protocols which should be used in order to provide seamless concurrent access to the database. But that provision was not there in the traditional file system. Now, after we discussed about the need or the purpose of the DBMS, by understanding the drawbacks of the traditional file system, we need to just understand the basic concept of client-server architecture. Typically, this particular architecture started by making use of single tier concept. Okay, so slowly we will understand what you mean by a single tier, two tier, three tier, and in today's date, it is multi-tier architecture which we are actually using. So this is typical example or a simple image, a typical image which is exhibiting the client server architecture. So the two main entities which are involved in client server architecture are clients and server. So you can see the clients can access the data which is stored onto this particular database by making use of this local area network. So this is typical system, or this is a typical network system which is showing the client server architecture. Now, in this image, there is one more term which is mentioned and which is called as fat client. Now, let me take a while and explain you what do you mean by this particular term. So viewers, there are two different types of clients which are used, or I can say that the two terminologies which are used in a typical architecture: fat clients and thin clients. When we say fat client, it means there is a much more processing which is happening on that particular workstation. Means that workstation is not only responsible for making the users view the result, but apart from that, fetching the data, processing the data, and presenting the data in the required format, everything is done at that particular workstation end. And such kind of workstations, such kind of systems are called as fat clients. As the name suggests, fat, because it is responsible for doing much more processing. Whereas the contradictory term to fat client is thin client. In case of thin client, there is very less amount of processing which is happening on the systems which are involved in client server architecture. It means maybe thin clients are also called as dumb terminals. Those are responsible for only showing the result, okay, to the user as per the demand of that particular end user. So these are the two terms which are very importantly to be remembered: fat client and thin client. So there are various types of client server architectures. You can see from this particular slide: file server architecture, database server architecture, and three-tier architecture. So I can say that these are the variations over the client server architecture. So as I mentioned, the concept of fat client and thin client, if you just see this particular image, or I can say that this arrow, you can see that in the upward direction, the client does extensive processing. If you start from three-tier to file server architecture, so in file server architecture, the clients are fat clients. Why? Because they are responsible for doing extensive processing. But in case of three-tier architecture, if you see the down arrow, client does little processing. So the clients involved in three-tier architecture are usually termed as thin clients. Now, let's have a look at simple image of file server architecture. Again, here you can see that there are various clients and those are connected with the server via local area network. Now, very importantly, what you need to observe through this particular slide is here in these bulleted points, it is mentioned that what is the function which is assigned to that particular server or that entity. Like in file server, it is mentioned that the role of this file server is as a file storage, record locking, acts like extra hard disk to client, and it is not very busy, and significant LAN traffic, right? So these are some, I can say, functions or processes with respect to file server. If you see on the right top side, the client processing is mentioned here, which is responsible for process or scan the tables. Some subpoints are there, handle integrity and security, and of course, it is having full database management system, which is installed, right? So this is simple scenario, but here you have to understand that the client is having full DBMS installed. Full DBMS means it is having the database tool which is completely installed, I can say, individually on these clients, and that is why these clients are fat client. Okay. Now going ahead, this is a simple example of thinner client. I think at the start of this particular topic, you have already seen this image. So here the clients are required to process a very less amount of data, or the total processing is very less. Now, this is again some explanation with respect to two-tier database server architecture. In this, client is responsible for I/O processing and some business rules or some kind of logic. And in case of server, server performs all the data storage and access processing. So two-tier, again here, some amount of processing is like I can say minimized onto the client or onto the client workstation as compared to the first one, that is the file server architecture, which is typically called also as single tier, because in previous days there was only one system onto which all these tiers were residing. Means the same system was responsible for maintaining the database, same system was responsible for implementing or developing the logic and for UI. And this is the example of three-tier architecture. Here you can see the word is thinnest clients, means very little amount of processing is done on these particular client stations or client workstations, right? So typically here there are three layers. You can see the database layer, application layer, and client layer. So in three tiers, you can see these three different layers, and every layer has got its own function. As per the end user, it will be functioning and showing the result onto the client layer. So these are the three entities which are involved in the three-tier architecture: client, application server, and database server. Going ahead. So at the end of this particular video session or video lecture, we will discuss on some advantages of three-tier architecture onto the single tier or the two-tier architecture. The first and very important advantage is scalability. Now you very well understand what you mean by scalability. So typically the scalability can be divided into two types: vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So it totally depends on the requirement of the user, that how the scalability is to be done. So in order to explain you in simple language, when we talk about vertical scaling, it is enhancing the basic capability of that particular server, maybe by adding more hard disk space, by adding more RAM space, then by maybe adding more cores of CPU. So that is vertical scaling. And when we talk about horizontal scaling, it is adding more number of server workstation in the room, right? That is horizontal scale. Technological flexibility, yes, three-tier architecture has got different workstations involved. Then there can be different servers which are involved. Those can be having different platforms, different programming languages used. So yeah, there is much more technological flexibility as compared to two-tier and one-tier or single-tier architecture. Long-term cost reduction, yes, because here the clients are responsible for a less amount of processing. So the investment onto the clients is reduced drastically. Better match of systems to business needs, and of course reduce risk. Why reduce risk? Because here there is no single point of failure. So naturally the risk of getting the particular database system to halt completely is significantly reduced. And last, at the end of this particular session, let us have a look at the overall system structure. So this is the typical system structure of your database management system, wherein you can see there are three layers. Again, the first layer, in simple language, it is called as client layer, but you can see there are so many different types of users which are mentioned, such as naive users, for example, tailors, agents, or web users. Then application programmers, then you can see the sophisticated users such as data analysts, and then you can see the database engineers. After that, in the middle layer, you can see everything which is mentioned is with respect to query processing. So here you can see the query validation engine, the application program object code, compilers, linkers, and various languages such as data manipulation language, data definition language interpreter. So everything with respect to logic is mentioned in the middle layer. And finally, you can see the bottom layer, which is called as storage, or I can say your physical layer, right? So here, everything happens with respect to storage, how the data is ultimately going to be stored on the hard disk. That will be discussed, or rather that will be decided in this particular layer. So typically your overall database management system architecture is divided into these three layers. So I hope you understood whatever is discussed in this particular video session. Stay tuned for my next video lecture. Thank you so much.